Am I on? Let's see here. Did I start? Let's see here. Hello, welcome to Paul's Take, and we're going to talk about my favorite vehicles. I'll try to block this little thingy bob. It bothers me. Oh, I can't. Can I? Let's see here. Since I'm still watching, I can. Okay, there we go. Alrighty, now let's get to business. We're going to talk about my favorite cars of all time. I've had many cars in my day. Man, so many cars. I don't even know if I can recall them all. But it's probably, I'm 47, and I've had a car ever since let's see here. I've been driving since I was 16. I got my first car when I was 17. And I've had probably average a car every other year. I'm not lying. It could be a whole show talking about every car I had. The first one was a Camaro. And it was a 79 Camaro with a 350 Chevy motor in there, V8. And it was like the slowest thing ever, but I didn't know anything back then. I thought it was fast. Oh, wait a minute, I'm not connected to my mic. So you can hear me a little better. Got the AC on. Excuse me. Pardon me. All right, I'm going to restart it so that way when I edit this, because right now we're live, but I could go back and edit. We'll start all over. Hello, welcome to Paul's Take, and this is my take on my favorite vehicles of all time. So, I've had many vehicles in my day, going back some, 30 some years. Whoa, that's a lot of vehicles. I think I probably had maybe, if I had to guess, I would say close to 20 vehicles. Should we try to name them all? We might as well, because we got nothing but time right now. There's nobody here watching, which is fine. That's good. First car was a Camaro, 79 Camaro. And that's funny, since it was your first car, it's like your first love. So you always compare everything to that one. And even though it had a 350 motor in it, it was slow. But I didn't know it was slow because it was my first car. I thought it was normal. But even though it was like considered, it's a muscle car, and when you think of like a sporty car nowadays, you think of tight suspension, solid ride. Well, this one, it's an old vehicle, so it was more like it was a heavy, cushy, kind of like a boat, plus it was old anyways. It was a 79, and I got it probably in 91. So it's already been, what is that, 12 years old or something? Yeah. So it was an older vehicle when I got it. And even to today's standard, it seemed like an older vehicle, 10-year-old car. If it's in pretty decent condition, it's still not a bad car. It might run as good as new. But back then, it was a 79. It was, 12 years old. And it didn't have that, it probably had about 110,000 miles on it. So it wasn't a crazy amount considered for today's standard, but back then that was pretty old. It was an older car. Anyhow, it wasn't fast. It was very cushy. I did like the way it felt though. I think maybe, I don't know if it was because it was my first car and I kind of got used to it, but that was a pretty nice driving car. Yeah, it was pretty cool. So my next car, that one died on me. I don't know why. I barely had it for about a year, then it died. Transmission problems. I didn't realize back then that you're not supposed to go from drive. I think if I did actually maybe too much, I'll go from reverse because it didn't have enough power to peel out from the get-go. Didn't have it. So I would put it in reverse, let it roll back a little bit, 5 miles an hour, stick it in a drive, and just rip the tire. Yeah, so that was fun. That's the only way I could get it to peel out. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't that fast. So anyways, it's really bad for the transmission. Didn't realize that. Well, by the way, my battery is going to die really quick. So I'm going to try to get through as much as I can. And then we might have to continue later. So we're just going to run it until my battery dies. Okay? Okay. It says only 10%. All right. I could plug it in, but I got the iPhone 7. When I plug it in, then it's got this little plug here where it's the same plug as the mic and the power. I can't do an external mic. Anyways, I could do the external mic without it doesn't sound as good, especially with the car on. Anyhow, second car. was what was my second car? I think that was the Regal. Was it the Regal? Or was it the Honda? It might have been the Honda. I had a Honda Accord, and it was a good little car. It was very reliable. You know, you can't kill a Honda. I think it was like an '84, and this was probably like 1992 maybe. But so it wasn't as old, but it ran perfect. It ran great. Back then, the Hondas, you know, it was a good car, it was reliable, but it didn't have much character. And if you're like me, you're always looking for like your Millennium Falcon. You know what I'm talking about? When you watch Han Solo, he loves his Millennium Falcon. That's like that's like a character in the movie of Star Wars. They bond with that car, bond with that ship. And when you own a car, for me, I think for a car guy, you're looking for your Millennium Falcon, your character, your vehicle's not just it's not just a piece of metal. It's a character. It's got personality. It's like you bond. You love the vehicle. It's got a soul. It's a character in your life, right? Because really nowadays, especially, I think a lot of people are associated with your car, especially if you're a car guy. You're like, oh, that's so and so with a Jeep or Camaro or Corvette. That's truck guy over there. You know, he's always got a truck. So defining, you know, for me, I always kind of like, what's this guy driving? And you kind of figure out what kind of person the guy is, or girl, by their car. It's like almost like your clothes. It's like your style, right? You almost know if you're going to bond with a person based on your car, on your taste. Like that person does not like cars. You can tell because they're driving a Hyundai Sonata or something. I don't know. They're good cars now, though. An older one, a boring one. But there's boring cars. You can tell some people just want to go from A to B. That's fine. All right, moving right along. So, in search of my Millennium Falcon, which one was it? Okay, so then I went to a Regal. Now, believe it or not, this was an old Regal too. Probably maybe '84 as well. It was green, avocado green, two-door Regal, and I didn't pick this vehicle out. It was a hand-me-down from my dad. He had it, so I got it. And let me tell you something. I really loved that car. I didn't like. It wasn't that I wanted it. I just said like, ugh. I just like, well, I need a car. He's giving me a car. I'll take it, right? So I took it. I think for a good deal. I don't think it's free. But anyways, so I got the Regal. And it was avocado green. It had leather seats. Had this like bench seat, you know what I'm talking about? Those bench cushy. It's got springs on the seat. I mean, literally, it's like a couch. It's got springs on it. You know what I'm talking about? The old bench seats. Probably have to go to a truck nowadays to get something like that. Well, excuse me, my back. I whacked out of my back last night, so now I got a knot in my neck, and it's just stiff as a board. Can't get comfortable. Okay, so anyways, I love that Regal. I didn't know I was gonna love it as much. I got it. Started driving it, and next thing you know, it's like this thing cruises. It cruises. The shocks were like you're floating on air. It absorbs bumps. Boom, boom. It wasn't bad on gas. That thing was, it just was a fun. I don't know about fun. It was just a satisfying. I think that's more the word, like a satisfying drive. You didn't feel like racing it. It wasn't a race car. It was a cruiser. You cruised it. You know, had the radio worked. A lot of cars didn't have radio that worked. You know, and it was just like a nice, cruising, fun car. And I always, if somebody wanted to go somewhere, I'm like, let's go. And you just cruised the Regal. Hell, he had this little small V6. And, oh, so it was cool. I loved it. It was a nice Regal. I'll tell you right now, I'll skip to the head. That was one of my favorite cars. And that really is a tie. I'm not sure. I like that one a lot. I like some other ones. Let's move along. So after the Regal, that Regal died too. I think we had it for a year. Transmission died on that one. I don't recall abusing that car. I did race it a little bit, but not much. And the transmission died on that one, so I got rid of that. And I think I went without a car for a little while, and I finally got around to getting an RX-7. Yeah, I had an RX-7. This was like a, what year was it? It was a first generation, and it wasn't the very first years, but it's probably like 4 years old. But basically, it's got the rotary engines. This is a funny car. I'll tell you a funny story about this car. Since I got time, I'm trying to like practice on just going on forever. Because I notice that when I do these lives, which is not very often, you get a lot of subscribers. That's what I need. So by the way, if you're watching this, you're not in my channel, subscribe to my channel. Because you won't miss all this great conversation. I think I'm gonna plug this in. I'm sorry, but oh no, I don't know. Should I plug it in? Keep this party going. All right, I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna plug this in because this battery's gonna die on me in a second. It's not gonna sound nearly as good as my mic. What I'm gonna do is I'll just where it's going to my feet instead of up top. I know it sounds terrible. I'm sorry. But at least we continue because I'm getting really into this conversation here. The RX-7 was funny because when I bought the RX-7, it was a manual, 5-speed. I didn't know how to drive a manual at the time. So I got to drive it home from Hollywood to like Venice area, Venice Beach. Shouldn't have took that long. Should have took maybe 30 minutes. It probably took me like 2 hours. And I couldn't figure out how to go smooth. I knew logically what you're supposed to do. Let out the clutch, or put in the clutch, put it in gear, let out the clutch, and ease off. But I couldn't get it to work without peeling out or stalling. So I was either ripping out of every intersection or stall the car. Finally got back. And then when I went to go get it registered, so I learned how to drive that stick with that car. When I went to go get it registered, I had to get a smog check. It turned out that, a rotary, I would say alleged, because I don't want to like imply, well, admit guilt to anything. But allegedly, there was, a rotary motor has 2 rotors, right? They spin. They don't have pistons. They go, boop, 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 boop. They have rotors that spin. So one of the rotors wasn't working. So it was only running on 50% of the power of a motor. So it only had 1 rotor instead of 2. So that was crazy. But in California, they're really strict on emissions. And that's basically having raw fuel coming right out of that tailpipe, allegedly. So back in the day, I had some friends. My friends said, go see Johnny over here. He can pass it. It'll probably cost you like maybe $60, which would normally be like $30. But he can make it pass. Okay, no questions asked though. Just go over there, give him your $60, and he'll take it and he'll fix it up. He'll make it pass. Okay, no questions asked. Of course, he didn't do anything to the car. He just passed it, probably stuck it in somebody else's tailpipe. Anyhow, that's how I got it registered. So that car, let me tell you, when it comes to like gelling a person to a vehicle, that RX-7 and I, we were like sweatpants. You know what I'm talking about? We were like just one. We were Usha. We were connected. After a while, because it's a 5-speed, rear wheel drive, super light, ball tires. And I could not, well, I could. Not like I couldn't physically do it. I just couldn't resist going around a corner without fishtailing. I just loved that fishtailing around the corner, which I guess would be called drifting now. I was drifting before I knew what drifting was. And I had it to a size. I could go around any corner and just drift it right into the corner, around the corner. I was awesome with that car. Me and that car, I think probably bonded more than any other car. That was nice. Actually, I really did like that car. I can't forget how much I liked that car. Because it was like so predictable. It didn't even have power steering. Without power steering, you have more feel, if you know that or not. Because it's just a direct connection to your hand to the wheel, to the ground. You can feel every little groove. And so light, you don't really need it. But I had that thing down to a science, ripping around corners. I had to put that maybe in my top 3. It was a rat. It was so nice. I mean, it was so cool of a car that I think every other sports car, which is not very many, kind of compare it to that one. And that was really cool. All right. Then I gave up on cars because I was getting tickets. So I said, you know what? And I was driving so reckless, allegedly. I was driving so reckless, I realized, I'm going to lose my license again. I forgot. We'll talk about that later. But I was like, you know what? If I get a motorcycle, then I won't be reckless because they're so dangerous. I would be forced to be very safe when I'm riding. Be very controlled. I don't want to like drive like a maniac, ride like a maniac, because then I would die. So it would be like a forcing of me to be safe. That was my logic. I'm sure you know where this is going. So, kind of the same thing. I bought the bike not knowing how to ride it and got it home. And I was really just like around the corner. It took me forever. Kept stalling it. And the funny thing was, it was a brand new Suzuki DR650, which is a dual sport street dirt bike. Kind of a heavier one. And it was not good on the street, and it was not good on dirt. It didn't do anything really good, but it could do both. And it was really cool looking, though. I really liked the way it looked. And I had that bike forever. Actually, that was my only means of transportation for 3 years in California. I didn't have a car. I just had the motorcycle for 3 years. And that's how I really learned how to ride. Really good. But when I was riding home, though, it was so funny because I'm riding home. I was basically purposely using the small secondary streets, the small streets where like the speed limit was 25 miles an hour. But I had to take the boulevard, the last stretch. So I get on the boulevard, and I'm ripping it right. And I got to gears. I think I kind of figured it out by then. I'm ducked down, I'm tucked, and I'm rolling. I'm like going so fast. And I look down, and I was doing like 30 miles an hour. And I thought I was just Mr. Speed Racer. Didn't take long though to get used to the speed. I got used to it pretty quick. And I had that thing. It's like the Camaro. Did I mention the Camaro? I crashed it. I only had it for like 3 weeks and I crashed it. I'm not even sure it was 3 weeks. And then the same kind of thing happened on the motorcycle. I only had it was a brand new bike. I only had it for like 2 or 3 weeks. I went to go show off to my buddy, which was his work. He worked at a supermarket. And I was like, hey, check out my bike. So let me see you ride it. So I start riding through the parking lot. I'm turning around, an aisle, and here comes a car. And I'm still very methodical about what I'm doing, so it's not like a reflex, like once you get good, you just don't even think about what you're doing. So I'm like, oh, I panicked, grabbed onto the front brake, and it locked up. And it just went down. Bam! But it was a dirt bike, and really there wasn't much damage except for some scratches. So it survived it okay, but of course I was beside myself because it was my brand new bike and I jacked it up. It was horrible. So that was I learned a lot on that bike. Did a lot of crazy things. But anyways, that was not my favorite bike. Because like I said before, it could go on dirt, which I did like twice. I tried to go on sand. I got stuck. Right now, it went in, got about 10 feet, and it just sunk into the sand. I couldn't get out. I did eventually, but it was terrible. But it didn't do neither one that well, But it's kind of a good starter bike because you could be kind of a hooligan. You could do it wasn't really, really fast. It accelerated fast, but didn't really go very fast. But you could do wheelies on it, and you could pop in those and go over curbs and stuff like that. So it was kind of fun, first bike. Then, what did I get after that? Oh, a really crappy Honda. It was like another Honda Accord, but it was a 2-door, and it was like, I got it for like $300. It lasted about 6 months, maybe. That one sucked. Then, what did I get? Oh. I did get another Camaro. It was like an 85, 84, 82, something like that. It was a second generation Camaro. I got that one from an auction, like an impound auction, for like $300. It died. It sucks. Transmission problems again. At that point, after the first Camaro died from transmission problems, the Regal died from transmission problems, and the second Camaro died from transmission problems. I swore off GM products because, yeah, those are the only ones that broke down and died on me. I mean, they had breakdowns, but those 3 vehicles died. I was like the Chevy GM Grim Reaper. If I'm buying your Chevy or GM, that Chevy is going to end up in the junkyard. So I gave up. I liked it though. I like driving it. I like driving Chevys, but they don't like me, apparently. All right, what's next on my list? After the Camaro. So I was over in an old neighborhood of mine, and here comes this jacked up Suzuki Samurai. It had 33-inch tires on it. It was lifted, and I don't know what it was, but it was speaking to my soul. I was pretty young, 24, but I just visioned all these great adventures in the Suzuki Samurai, and I had to have it. It was for sale, so I got it. That thing had like 1 million miles on it. I think it had like 200,000 miles on it, but it was on a second motor, supposedly. Supposedly it was rebuilt. Now thinking back, maybe it wasn't, because it didn't last that long. But that thing was pretty insane looking. It was by far, it was not subtle by any means. It stuck out. I did change the tires, because they were, I don't remember why. I don't know if it was a gas mileage or what, but I did change them for some smaller tires. Let me tell you, that Samurai, you talking about off-roading? That Samurai's a beast. I did some crazy off-roading in that thing. And I kept up with, really, I had friends with Jeeps, with big tires and everything. That Samurai went everywhere they went. There was nothing they could do that I couldn't do. That thing was unstoppable. It was probably a little more bouncy. I did tip it over once. Yeah, that was an adventure. But anyways, I was able to grab some guys, and we just knocked it back up, put it back on 4s, and kept on going. And really, I guess it was so light and it was on dirt, it didn't really make much damage. There was some little scratches here, but nothing really noticeable. It wasn't like tore up. You kind of roll over this Scion, you're gonna see some damage. But you really didn't see much. You like some scratches, and you wouldn't even really notice it. It was pretty tight. Anyhow, so when I first got it, I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. After having it for a while, I kind of was embarrassed. I guess it was too much. It kind of crappy looking, kind of beat up. And then I was like, I don't want to be seen in it. All right, let's see here. How are we doing on time? We gotta wrap this up. Unfortunately, I have a lot of cars to go through, but let's go into the motorcycles, right? Go jump into motorcycles real quick. There's less motorcycles. So the first one I told you was a Suzuki DR650, and then a second one. What was my second one? Oh, I got a cruiser. I got another Suzuki. A Suzuki Marauder, right? It was I think an 805cc cruiser. It was kind of smaller, but you know what? It was pretty bad. I got the pipes on it and jetted the carbs, and it wasn't a Harley, but I never really cared for Harleys, I'm sorry to say. But it was not a bad bike. I should have left it stock, pretty much. I should have jetted it. Even the exhaust, I think they kind of messed it up, because it made it real. It was kind of like, before I messed with it, it was maybe a little quiet, but it had a nice vibration to it. After I started tweaking it, the vibrations got really kind of, I don't know, but it was like stinging your hands. It was kind of annoying. So it kind of took out it wasn't as smooth of a ride. It kind of messed it up. It did make it faster and louder, but the ride quality wasn't there as much. And it kind of ruined it. But it was a nice bike. I like the Marauder. Yeah. And then it might actually be, I don't know, it's hard to say. I like that one a lot. Then I got a Katana 750. And I probably think that was probably the best looking bike. You laugh at me. I know you're laughing at me. But it was blue and it had another, maybe silver on the bottom. It had an aftermarket seat on there, and it just looked like a cool bike. Like when I just looked at the bike, I'd want to ride it. That's the kind of bike it was. I looked at it, I was like, that's a cool looking bike. I want to ride it. The only problem with the Katana was it was a little slow, believe it or not, off the line. Top end, it was really fast. Once you got revving, you're doing about 70. You hit it, you're going. You're going to go forever. Who knows the top ends? But you were flying. You took it in. You're doing light speed. Yeah. But off the line, which I think I kind of enjoyed more than the high end. I like to be able to stop and just boom, feel that kick and just like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I think it's more my style. So I got the Katana. I liked the way it looked. But okay, so it was kind of slow off the line, but that's not the reason why I didn't like it. The reason why I didn't like it, it felt like it was not positioned correctly. Like the handlebars to the seat ratio, I never got comfortable in that bike. It didn't feel like the aerodynamics of it was correct. It was off. And I didn't know enough how to fix it. I still don't know how to fix it, but it was off. It wasn't right. So I never really felt like, it didn't feel like I wasn't, it seemed like the handlebars were maybe too forward, maybe, but I didn't feel comfortable. Never felt really natural riding position. I just felt off. It's hard to explain. So even though I loved the way it looked, I never really felt completely comfortable with that bike. So that's obviously not my favorite bike. The next bike was, what did I have after that? I built a bike. I built a chopper, believe it or not, in my garage. And because back then it was, remember West Coast Choppers? It's a huge show. If you ever heard of it, look it up. Jesse James, he built these custom choppers, and I was like, I can do that. So we sold our house and had some little extra money on the side. So my wife's like, yeah, if we move, I'll give you put some money aside, you can build a chopper. And that's how I ended up on the East Coast, by the way. So it's like, cool. So I built the chopper. It took me forever. Got it riding it. I started riding. Got it working, and it was pretty evident right away that as cool as the chopper was, it looked cool, and I looked cool on it. Believe it. Obviously, I would look cool on a chopper. It wasn't my kind of ride, and I realized it right away. Did not foresee anything. I didn't foresee that, but it was true. It wasn't because it had a ton of power. It's a rocket. I think it had a 100 cubic inch engine in there, 100 horsepower, and 100 foot-pounds of torque. So it was all torque, which I like. So it could go like a rocket. It could take off, and you could probably do a wheelie on it. But with the raked out forks, it cruised well. It was. But I realized the whole fun thing about a motorcycle is the turns. The switchbacks, going on roads, windy roads, and turning. Scraping your pegs, that kind of thing. And that was not the bike for it by any means. I realized it right away. Oh, this is not really my style. So I sold that, and then I went from a hardcore chick magnet chopper to a Honda CB 500 F. I don't know. So I went from a bad to the bone chopper to a little Honda, and I just, what happened was a little bit of a gap, and I was like, I just want to. The bike was cheap. I'm like, that looks like a nice looking bike. It looks like fun. I feel like I miss bike riding. I miss riding. I'll just go buy that. So I bought it. I had it for, I don't know, a little while, 2 or 3 years, something like that. And it was a 500cc bike. 500, 2-cylinder, parallel twin. But let me tell you something. Well, yeah, I'm gonna tell you right now. That was a fun bike. It was fun. It was so fun. It had enough torque to go off. It didn't have a lot of torque. Like you're not gonna race anybody, but you can get off the line and beat cars. You know what I'm talking about? You take off. You can do a wheelie on it if you try hard enough. And it didn't have a really high top speed, but you get to 100. You cruise on the freeway, and it felt a little light on the freeway, but you can do it. But it was so inviting. It was like you just wanted to ride. It was like a fun bike. It was fun. I don't know what the hell to explain it. It was light. It was agile. It was comfortable. The what do you call it? Ergonomics was like perfect. It was fun. It didn't have like the best quality suspension, but it wasn't, it wasn't horrible. I rode a Ducati when I had that bike. And I was comparing the Ducati versus that one, and Ducati is way more expensive, and it was way higher end, and that was a great bike for some, but it wasn't for some reason as lighthearted and fun as that CB 500. And yeah, it wasn't intimidating. It was smooth as glass. And then my next bike was a Kawasaki Z1000. That was my last bike, a Kawasaki Z1000. And what year was that? I don't know. I think it's about 10 years old now. But it had a 1000cc, 100 and so much horsepower. That was comfortable. It was fast. It handled like a dream. It was what, technically on paper, that should have been my favorite bike. And it was definitely my fastest bike. And it was definitely, it made you confident. Too confident. I'd take on ramps and off ramps. It was ridiculous. I was going crazy. And you kind of wanted to push it. And it was a great bike. It was a great bike. Technically, that should have been my favorite bike. But I gotta admit, I had more fun on the Honda. That little Honda CB, CB 500. I think it was F. Yeah, because it wasn't the sporty one. It was with the bars that went to the regular bar, upright position. It was standard, like a naked bike. It was that version. That was my favorite bike. To this day, out of all the bikes, that was my favorite bike. And I should have got rid of it. And I can buy another one, but I think when it comes to bikes, I never recommend a bike to anybody. I feel like bikes are dangerous, and I want somebody to die and you recommended a bike and here I am dead. I don't want that. Now, a lot of people have been riding forever. They're going to ride no matter what. And then, that's fine. It's their business. But I don't recommend it. And I feel like on motorcycles, I keep wanting to push it. And I'm afraid I'm going to lose my license. I'm afraid I'm going to crash. And I'm old now, so I don't bounce as well as I used to. I figured I quit while I'm ahead. I might get another one down the road. You never know. But as of right now, I'm going to take a break. And that's why I got this car here, which is a Scion TC. It's kind of sporty. And it's a fun car, too. All right, so I'm going to jump right ahead because I got to get back to work. I'm on my lunch hour here. So my other cars that I had a lot. I'm not going to go through all. I had a Dodge Ram 1500 and a Ford F-150. I had a few Jeeps. I had a Jeep Compass, Jeep Cherokee, Jeep Patriot. I like the Patriot. I liked it a lot. That might be my number 2. Where's my number 1? Oh, okay. There's just some close ones. There's some close calls. I like the Patriot. I really did. I like that one a lot. And then the Cherokee was good, but it was almost boring good. I know that if a car's too good, it starts to get boring. It has to be a little edgy for me. Millennium Falcon was a piece of junk. You had to beat on it, and you never knew if it was going to work or not. Well, I almost feel like if a car is too good quality, like this car here, I think it has that problem. The Scion TC is such a great car. There's no drama to it. It just works. It's smooth. It handles like a dream. But I guess there's no fear factor. There's no like crazy factor. There's no hooligan factor to it. It's just a good car. It's great. I recommend it to anybody. I haven't bonded with it. So I like the Patriot. I don't think I bonded with it though, as much as I did have believe it or not, I had a Isuzu Rodeo. And this was the first generation, I think. It was first generation. And I really liked the way it looked cool. It looked nice. I think the thing about that was it was the right size. It was like a nice sized vehicle, an SUV. It had kind of meaty tires on it. It was only 2-wheel drive though, and I preferred it with 4-wheel drive. But it had 2-wheel drive, but there was like a lock button on there, so you lock the rear. It had a sunroof, and it had plenty of power. And I would go off-roading with that thing, and it it felt like you handled it really well. At the same time, it was kind of harsh too. The thing I didn't like about it was the gas mileage. If it wasn't for the gas mileage, I would have loved that car. But it had terrible gas mileage. Two-wheel drive, it was just terrible. And at the time, the gas prices were high. So that might have been my most enjoyable. It's probably between the Regal, which was a cruiser, the Isuzu Rodeo, I think might be my favorite though, to be honest with you. And then the Patriot. Yeah, I think those guys. So what do they have in common? Let's see. I think they're kind of little plushy-ish, kind of little cruisy-ish. You know? RX-7 was my favorite sports car. Because it was ratty and gold and smelly, but it was, man. Plus it was a manual. This one here is an automatic. You definitely bond with a manual for sure. Alrighty, well, thanks for watching Paul's Take, and that's my take on my favorite cars. Thanks for watching Paul's Take.